There are 4 new Easter eggs in Call of Duty over the last week or so, and that should be super exciting. You know, it's given us something to look for in streams. It's been kind of a lot of fun working stuff out. But these Easter eggs have actually ended up being more frustrating than anything. I've ended up kind of hating Call of Duty a little bit as a result of this. Now, I'm sure that'll pass. Once I go back to playing the game normally, it'll be fine. But this has been a very, very frustrating experience. So in this video, I'm going to talk you through all 4 Easter eggs. You can do them yourself if you want to. One of them is quite fun, one of them's harmless enough, and then the other 2 are just unbelievably frustrating. If you find this video useful or just interesting, you just have a good time of it, don't forget to like and subscribe, that helps me out a bunch. And if you know anything more about these Easter eggs, you found something else, please let me know in the comments and then I can investigate it on stream. And if you're a developer who's been working on these games and you know something more about this in terms of things that are bugged, please let us know what is bugged, because not even being aware of kind of where the bugs are or what things are working as intended makes this incredibly difficult and very, very frustrating. But let's get on with the first one. So the first Easter egg is simple enough and I enjoy it. It's very, very quick, very easy, and you get a cool calling card from it. So to do this, you just want to drop into Warzone, into Battle Royale, and on the northwest side of kind of the central island in Urzikstan, there's a coast, and if you go to the coast, you'll be able to see like a hand sticking out from the sand. There's an interact prompt on this. If you go up and interact with it, it will say Krampus is hunting you. So this is Krampus's hand, but then it immediately cancels the hunt because it says that he's stuck underneath a crate. Now, I really, really like this. I loved Krampus back in the days of Caldera. I thought it was really funny when he was in games and kind of messing everything up for people. I know lots of other people didn't really like it. I've kind of laughed a little bit with Ted Timmons, the creative director of Raven, about this. I thought it was very cool. I was saying to him, like, oh, please bring it back. That would be awesome. But obviously, the overwhelming community sentiment is that Krampus was a bad thing because people like playing Call of Duty competitively, and they don't like their game being messed up by a random AI character. But I thought it was funny, and I think this is a fun little way to kind of bring him back a little bit. You know, coming up with that thing saying Krampus is hunting you might scare a couple of people, might give them a little bit of a jump, but then it's just a little joke. And you do get a pretty cool calling card from this. It's animated with the Krampus's face, like, kind of roaring. So I think that's a cool Easter egg. I like this kind of stuff. Just very, very quick. Just a fun little reference to something kind of in the history of Warzone. I think that's awesome. I wish they'd do a lot more of these kind of things. Now, on to the second one. Another kind of harmless enough Easter egg, but this one is a lot simpler and a lot less interesting. In Warzone Battle Royale matches right now, there is the Mr. Peaks bunny hidden around the map. There seems to be different locations where sometimes he spawns, sometimes he doesn't. I've heard of people finding him more than once in a single game. I've only found him a couple of times so far, always in the place kind of where the Legacy Fortress is in Zombies. There's a watchtower there and he's been in the corner. If you shoot him, he kind of teleports away and a bunch of decent loot comes out. I've had things like durable gas masks. I've heard other people getting loadout drop markers. So pretty decent loot, really. It looks a little bit like maybe he teleports away. So if he does teleport away, maybe there's a bit more to this Easter egg. Maybe you can kind of go and chase him, work out where he's gone to, and then keep shooting him or something like that. I've got absolutely no idea. You don't seem to get any permanent rewards from this, so there's no emblem or calling card. Nothing comes up on the screen. So that's a little bit of a shame. But maybe this one just isn't finished. I don't know. It's fine. It's harmless. I'm sure someone eventually will make a map of kind of all the different places where they can spawn, but right now there doesn't seem to be much. Now on to the third Easter egg, and this is where I start getting frustrated. This is on multiplayer in Modern Warfare 3, and there is a new version of the high-rise map called Hangover. It's like a Christmas-themed version of it. In the kind of pit area there, where there's kind of a lot of utility tunnels and stuff like that, there is a sort of can silo, I don't know, gas canister type thing, and on the side of it there's a sign saying something about find 20 toys, find a toy or find all toys, and then there's a number 20 and an arrow pointing towards a little toy unicorn. So like most people, I figured that we're meant to be trying to find 20 of these unicorns, and sure enough there are 20 of them around the map. It took me hours and hours and hours, but I found all 20 of them, thanks to Cobb for helping me for a little bit with this. But I found all 20, I've managed to go around and shoot all of them in a single game, and nothing happens. Like, literally nothing happens at all. I've looked all over the map after I've done it. I couldn't see anything happening at all. I've done this in about 3 or 4 games now, and nothing's happened at all. It's also super frustrating to do because some of the toys are just kind of glitched and don't always spawn into the game, even if you go find them right at the beginning. And all of them are kind of physics objects, so if there's an explosion nearby, they can just get knocked away to a place where you can't reach them or you can't see them. So if someone just happens to throw a grenade in the wrong place, that's the Easter egg spoiled for you. Oh, also, you can't play this map in private games, so you have to do it in live games, which is super frustrating. This has really annoyed me today. Like, I spent hours looking for these stupid unicorn toys, finally found all 20, was really happy with myself, and then just absolutely nothing. No reward, no kind of special effects or anything. Now, there's a chance, obviously, that there's actually 21 toys, and the one that the arrow is pointing at is just an example, and it doesn't really count. Definitely possible. If anyone finds the 21st toy, please let me know. I would be super interested. I'm trying to show you in this video where every single one that I found is. But if you find another one, wonderful, more power to you. I just have looked all over this map and couldn't find them. It was hard enough to find the 20 that I have found. This was just a really frustrating experience because it's like, even when you know where they are, you've then kind of got to get into a game, hope it's not team deathmatch or kill confirmed, because they sometimes end too quickly to get them all. Then you've got to worry about climbing up to some of the sort of like tricky spots while people are trying to snipe you and things like that. If someone gets like a chopper gunner, then forget about it. You're not going to be able to do it. Then you've got to contend with all of the glitches and the fact that some of them can just be knocked out of the map, because there's some locations where they're very close to an area where there's no collision, so they just disappear. It's just unbelievably frustrating. And, you know, like I said, finally did it all. As far as I know, I was the first person to find all 20 and shoot them all, and nothing happened. That is so frustrating. And now, onto the most frustrating one. Yes, there's one even worse than that. This is the infamous drone parts Easter egg in Warzone. And we know this is a proper Easter egg. There is a reward for it. As far as I know, at the time of recording this, only 2 people in the world have managed to complete this. The guy who runs Warzone TAC-Map, he finished it first, and he sort of recorded, okay, what happens at the end of it, and at the time, he was like, oh, cool, this is done. And Ted Timmons, who I mentioned earlier, creative director of Warzone, he kind of replied with an implication, let's say, that maybe there's more to it, which was a bit strange. I managed to finish it this morning after a very long time of trying. I managed to finish it this morning, and I couldn't find anything different to what Warzone TAC-Map found at all. Now, I'm not going to do a guide for this because I think in its current incarnation, it's kind of insanely broken. I think there's so much going wrong with this that makes it way harder than it needs to be. It took me, I think, about 24 hours of in-game time to get this done, once we knew what we were doing. Not 24 hours of working it out, but 24 hours of actually trying to do it once we knew exactly what to do. And at no point did what we were doing change. It's just plain luck, and that makes it so frustrating. So I'll try and explain to you what you have to do if for some insane reason you want to do it, and I'll talk about the rewards at the end. But this definitely isn't worth it. Like, this is 100% not worth your time. So basically, you need to go into Warzone Battle Royale. This doesn't work in Plunder, it doesn't work in Zombies, and you are looking for 5 drone parts. Near the kind of manor, there, just sort of north of the manor, there's a place where you can build a drone. There's kind of a red outline of one, and you're looking for 5 parts to put in there. There's 2 wings, left and right. There's a battery, a body, and blades. That's what you're looking for. You just need to find those 5 parts. And even better, it actually saves your progress. So if you put 1 part in it in one game, then don't worry, that's there sort of permanently until you finish the Easter egg. So you can go into other games and then it will still be there. That's absolutely amazing. But now for the bad news. The drone parts spawn kind of randomly across the map. They all have kind of set locations where they can spawn, but it seems like each location has a very low chance of anything spawning there at all. And when I say low chance, I mean you can go to some of these locations, you know, 15, 20 times and not find anything. Plus, they seem to despawn after a couple of minutes. Now, some of you who have been looking at Easter eggs in Warzone for a long while will remember we had this with the stadium keycards, where after about 2 minutes 15, 2 minutes 20, they just disappeared, even if you're looking right at them. The exact same bug is back with these. So even if you're looking at one of these drone parts, when the timer gets to about, when the first circle's kind of closing in, and the timer gets to about 1 minute 40, they will just disappear in front of your eyes, which absolutely sucks. So you've got that first 2 minutes of each game to try and find some drone parts. Now, the locations, like I said, are kind of semi-random. There's lots of places where they could spawn. So we tried to kind of make routes where we could check 4 or 5 per game. And then what we were doing was just going in, dropping in, check our 4 or 5 locations. When the timer got down to 1 minute 40, we'd just back out and go back in again. If you find a drone part, obviously you need to try and get it to the drone sort of building platform where you put them together. Obviously, if you die or lose it or anything like that, then it's gone, which kind of sucks. Thankfully, that never actually happened to us, but it seemed like it might. But that's essentially what you're trying to do. Now, these spawns, it's really hard to make clear just how rare the drone part spawns are. Last night, me and Flynn were playing for 4 hours, just going in constantly, so spending the first 2 minutes of every game, searching very, very quickly. We were checking about 4 or 5 spots each, so, 8 to 10 spots altogether every game. And in 4 hours, I didn't find a single drone part, and Flynn found 1. So that's us checking about 8 to 10 locations every game, just going in games for 2 minutes at a time for 4 hours, and we found 1 part between us. And it was a part that I already had, so it's a duplicate, which just absolutely blows my mind it's that bad. Now, sometimes it seems like it's easier. This morning, I was going in, and in the first 50 minutes while streaming looking for them, I found 4 different parts, including the last part I needed, which let me finish the Easter egg. It's just unbelievably frustrating, trying to work out what's going on. Is there something controlling it? We were doing it in duos. Originally I had tried in solos, but you don't get helicopters in solos. And then we tried in duos for a while because you get the helicopters. Then when we had more people helping us, we went up to quads. And then while we were doing quads, we didn't find any parts at all. And I think Warzone TACMAP had a similar experience where they went from duos to trios and then stopped finding them. For some reason, it seemed like I couldn't find any parts in the evening, but in the morning, I found it really easy to find parts. I've got no idea whether these are just sort of things where I'm spotting patterns in my head that aren't really there, or whether they are there. If you're looking for the drone part spawn locations, Warzone TACMAP.online, like I said, that's the guy who actually solved this. He has a map with all of the different locations that we know about. Now, I would say on that map, there's a few locations I don't think are actually real, like the people who posted those screenshots have explained that that isn't really where they were. But generally, that is a decent idea. You can watch in this video where I'm going, the different locations I'm going to. That should give you an idea of where they can spawn. Another thing that makes it kind of difficult is that if you're flying around in a helicopter, which is obviously a quick way of checking lots of locations, sometimes the parts don't spawn in until you're really close to them and hanging around for a couple of seconds. So if you just flew past, you might not notice them at all. And some of them, like the battery, which was the last piece I needed, are really hard to see because it essentially looks like a stick. But once you do have the last part, so you've got your 4 parts and you've already built up the drone, then you find that last part you need and you put it on, the drone will immediately, without a prompt or anything, just fly up into the air, and now it is a special kind of recon drone where it will follow you around and give you a persistent UAV for the rest of that match until either it gets destroyed or you die. And it will get destroyed just as easily as any recon drone will. So if someone shoots it, it will just go down and then it's completely gone. If you die, it's gone. Even if your teammates are still alive, even if you win your gulag, doesn't matter, it's gone. And then when you go into the next game, you'll need to find all the parts again. The entire progress will be reset. You have to start again from scratch. Now, when you do build that drone and it flies up, you do get the thing saying that you've completed it and you get a loading screen. That's the kind of permanent reward for this. Like I said, 100% not worth it. 24 hours of in-game time played to get a bloody loading screen. And it's not even a very interesting loading screen. It's just like a drone over what looks like a piece of concept art looking like the manor. Now, again, there might be more to this. There might be something else. Ted Timmins did seem to kind of imply on Twitter that there's something else to it. I tried to go around a little bit with the drone. I went to the areas where drone parts spawn to see if maybe it would pick something up. I tried to go around where the manor was a little bit. It didn't seem to do anything. It was just working as kind of a UAV. So I've got no idea. Maybe there's more to it. Maybe there's something else you can do. But it's really frustrating because it's so vulnerable. It's so fragile. And it takes so long to build it that it's just not really worth even investigating that at this point. You know, I'm not going to spend another 24 hours of in-game time looking for stupid drone parts that are bugged to try and build it again, to have a couple of minutes where I'm looking around with the drone to see if we can do anything else. I'm hoping that these are just bugs and it's all going to be fixed. So in my mind, the way it's probably meant to work, I think, is that A, the drone parts aren't meant to disappear. So they're not meant to disappear after a couple of minutes. You're meant to be able to just keep on searching for the game, at least as long as the place where you build a drone is still not in the gas, because that's frustrating as well. You know, if that goes into the gas, then it's much more difficult to put any drone parts there. But I think that's meant to be how it works. You know, they don't disappear. And also, I think there's meant to be a way of seeing where they are. What would make sense to me is if at the beginning of the game, you could see them fall out of the sky. So maybe you'd see a set of drones explode. And when you see, like, the locations where the bits fall down, that's where you have to go to try and find them. Or maybe they could have a sort of smoke trail, like maybe a wisp of smoke coming off them. So when you're flying about, you could look for those wisps of smoke, knowing that's where a drone part was. That would make perfect sense to me. Or, you know, like lots of people have suggested, maybe there's a map somewhere, maybe there's a computer somewhere that on the screen shows the coordinates of where a bunch of these drone parts are. That would be brilliant, but nobody's found anything like that so far. Until they fix this, I just don't think it's worth doing. I mean, even when they do fix it, it's also not worth doing. But right now, in the terms of like trying to think if there's anything more we can do with this, I just don't know why you would bother. This drove me absolutely crazy. This took me like about 3 days going in and out. And there's such long stretches of time where even though we were doing the exact same thing, just found nothing. And then when I finally did complete it, it wasn't like I'd started looking in another area. I hadn't started doing a different route. I hadn't started playing in any different way. I had just been doing the exact same thing I'd been doing for hours and hours and hours and hours, but just got lucky that time. And that's ridiculous. That's such a terrible way to do this kind of Easter egg. Hopefully, you know, hopefully it's bugged right now and it'll get fixed and it'll be more interesting. And hopefully if we get more Easter eggs in Warzone, they'll make them better. I mean, I always kind of think we're lucky to get any Easter eggs. It doesn't really make sense for them to spend any development time on these. There's so few people in the world that do them. Like, I reckon with all the Easter eggs we've had before, some of them, there's probably less than 100 people that have done them. Like that one where you had to get the cane in Verdansk 84 and then go to the grave and dig something up. I reckon hardly anybody ever did that. I mean, no one bloody watched my video where showing people how to do it. And then some of the other ones, even like Bunker 11 and the Stadium Easter egg and things like that, it's probably in the order of like thousands of people. It's a tiny, tiny fraction of a percent of the people that play Warzone. So why would they ever prioritize them over anything else? They just wouldn't. So I should be thankful that we got anything, that we got any kind of Easter eggs. I just wish they hadn't been designed in such a way where I ended up wasting hours and hours and hours of my life for essentially no kind of reward. They weren't fun to do, and you don't get anything good from doing them, which kind of sucks. Just do the Krampus one from the beginning of this video. That was definitely the best one. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Like I said, if you know anything more about these Easter eggs, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you for the next one. Have a good Christmas. Goodbye.